Minister, appreciate you coming in so late this evening. And just the issue is around the increasing number of people who are contacting my office. And I know, and I've heard it over the last couple of weeks from other TDs as well, with the issue of passport officers not being able to get confirmation of signatures from the Garda station. And it is causing huge distress for everyone who's involved in the process, and it creates an awful lot of work for everybody. And I'll just give you an example of a couple of constituents. One said, I got onto the passport office on the 19th of the 4th, 24, to see what was happening. The following Tuesday, I received an email to say that they couldn't get through to the Garda station to confirm the consent forms, as they wouldn't answer the phone. It was a family member, a friend who was a member of the Garda that got them signed. And he told us the station phone is manned 24/7, and was surprised to hear it. Very unfair, at no fault of our own, that we were put at the bottom of the pile and expected to wait a further 20 days. Another constituent applied for a passport on 28th of March 25. I was advised at the passport office on the 13th of May that there was an issue contacting the witness, and the form would need to be signed again. On the same day, I went back to the Garda station in order for the consent form to be signed again, and they were surprised to hear that the office had difficulties making contact with the Garda. So on both sides we had an issue in relation to it. And then the last one then, our 10-week-old baby's passport was to be issued last Friday, but as the required witness was not contactable and a landline number was provided, unfortunately a whole new application was required. And we all know the difficulties that when something happens with a passport, we all get these contacts every single week, and it starts in February and March when people contact us and they say, look, I'm heading off in the next week or so and I'm desperately trying to get hold of the passport. I will commend the passport office, in fairness to them. They really do their best to try and get it resolved as quickly as they possibly can. And I would just, if anybody is going to be listening to this, I'd urge them, please don't book anything before you have your passport in your hand. Please. And I know I suppose that goes out every single year, but people do, and they do have that expectation because they're looking at the timelines from the passport office. They say, look, that's brilliant. I've got plenty of time within that timeline, and from the passport office. But unfortunately, once you get one simple issue like this, then throws the whole process into disarray, and it delays it for a very long time. So I'm very interested to hear about how we can resolve this. I think something around digitalisation of it, modernising the process. But it's something that seems a little bit archaic, to be honest with you, in this day and age, that we have the passport office ringing up a Garda station who goes to a big book, and then they search that big book to see if the signature has been put in correctly. And sometimes there is a mistake where it can be put in incorrectly as well, which can cause problems. So I'll leave it at that for the moment.
To take this question from Deputy Donnelly, and I appreciate the constructive manner that it's placed, and hopefully I'll be able to reply equally in a constructive manner. And I'll skip over some of the introductory which you'll receive to your place shortly, because you know yourself that the Passport Office is working extremely hard and delivering overall with 440,000 passports issued so far just this year alone. But more pertinently to the question to which you raise, Passport Online was introduced in 2017, and since then adults renewing their passports through the Passport Office are not required to submit a witnessed identity form. Online child renewal applications can be witnessed by members of many professions, including school teachers, doctors, elected representatives and Gardaí. I dare say everyone in this House has witnessed at least one passport form in the last week. Certain passport application forms for applications resident in Ireland are required, however, to be witnessed by a member of the Garda Síochána, and for the interest of the House, these applications are post-passport, first-time adult online and first-time child online. The witnessing of these application forms is a vital element of the identity verification process, as it provides initial assurance to the Passport Service that the person in the photograph is the same person presenting to submit the form. With applications for a minor, which is particularly important. The witnessing of this form provides evidence that guardians have given consent for a passport to issue to the child. To protect the rights of parents or guardians and children, it's important that forms are correctly completed. As I mentioned previously, child online renewal applications can be witnessed by a range of professions, not just Gardaí. When a Garda does witness an application, it is the responsibility of the witnessing Garda to ensure that the signature is correctly recorded in their station logbook so that when the Passport Service calls, the signature can be verified. Deputy, only 17% of all applications require a Garda witness. In these cases, the Passport Service calls the relevant station to confirm that the Garda recorded the form in their logbook. The Passport Service is not required to directly speak to the witnessing Garda themselves. Passport Service staff call the Garda station up to 3 times to verify the signature. Passport applications are checked by experienced entitlement officers who endeavour to maintain up-to-date records of the opening hours of Garda stations. Where the Passport Service cannot reach the Garda station after 3 attempts, the relevant superintendent's office can be contacted to verify the details. If the Passport Service is unable to verify the witness after these steps have been taken, a new witness form, and only then, will be requested from the applicant. The Passport Service is continuously looking, however, at ways to make the application process easier for applications, including the enhancement, Deputy, of digital services, and would therefore welcome the digitalisation of the records maintained by An Garda Síochána when witnessing applications. Currently, there is a general update of Passport Service policies in the context of the ongoing programme of Passport Service reform. This reform programme focuses on the future of service delivery by implementing projects that enhance the consumer experience while maintaining the integrity of the Irish passport. Where viable, we will look at all potential options in terms of modernising the facility, but I really can't understate this. Officially, the Irish passport is the best ranked passport in the world. Number 1, not 1 of 100. Number 1, and there's a couple of things that go into that. One, it's access to various jurisdictions, visa-free travel, access to the European free market, and that's great. But really the main deciding factor is the veracity of the Irish passport. It is impossible to forge. And that is equally important and specifically important when we're talking about applications for children and protecting minors in that service. So whilst, yes, the system may seem a little bit onerous, it's there for good reason. However, that doesn't preclude the options to completely and continuously improve it, as we saw from the very original introduction of the online service in 2017. And as I said, Gerlach, I'm more than happy to work, particularly with you, Deputy Donnelly, in how we can improve this system.
Deputy Donnelly.
Margaret, and look, I appreciate the answer, and I suppose what surprises me in relation to it is that when they gave the figure of 17% of passports, and yet, just in the last couple of weeks, I have, at least four or five, and I've listened to a couple of other deputies raising this issue as well. I think one on premise legislation from your own party as well in relation to it. So it is an issue. It most definitely is an issue not with the Passport Office, because I think they're doing their due diligence, and I absolutely understand. And I also say to people, the first time when I hear that there's a phone call comes to the office and it's about a passport, I say, please don't make it be a forced passport, because that's going to be a very difficult one to try and resolve. And people, unfortunately, sometimes don't understand until you explain to them that, look, the importance of ensuring the veracity of the applicant and making sure that this is real, because once you get your first passport, it then naturally follows on. So they have to get that piece right. And I agree entirely, all of the checks and balances need to happen so that we ensure, as you say, that our passport remains the number 1. Actually just reminded me something there when you talked about the passport being number 1. When Mossad, the Israeli security service, actually were caught with Irish passports a number of years ago. I think it was about maybe 10 or 12 years ago that they were caught with Irish passports. There was an issue in relation to it. I think it relates back to the previous debate that we had in relation to that country. But I do just think there is something we have to look at, and we have to ensure that it's a stressful time for people and that we try and make it as easy as we possibly can, and also for the Passport Office and for the guards. Make sure that there's not a waste of time, a waste of energy, that we try and get it some way digitalised so that the checks can be done much quicker and much easier, and we don't have the situation where unfortunately, people like this are left struggling, ringing our office trying to get it sorted.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, to reply.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cahirlik. And just in conclusion, reply on two issues. Where an Irish passport is forged or mistampered, it tends not to be a forged or made-up document. It tends to be a stolen passport with someone trying to assume the identity, trying to say they look like the person in the photo. That's how good it is. And you refer to an incident of 10, 11, 12 years ago. Things are greatly different, hence the #1 status, which has been achieved by 500 amazing staff in Balbriggan that I was very lucky to visit with Deputy Grace Boland a couple of weeks ago. And I suppose, and this is a personal observation as much as anything else, and look, you and I have been in this house the same amount of time, so I don't pretend to be an oracle on this, but if you're contacting a TD about any issue, it's generally the last chance saloon. You get pretty desperate, and sometimes there's been failings in the systems, or sometimes you are that anomaly. As I referred, only 17% of applications require Gardaí witnessing. So far, 440,000 applications have been processed. So 17% of 440,000, 23,000 last week alone. There will always be a few where the Garda station can't be contacted 3 times, the superintendent can't be contacted, and then eventually it has to go back. And if that is to happen to you, and you've been one of those people who do everything that you and I would tell them not to do, don't book travel if you don't have a valid passport, particularly not for a child. The first place you'll turn to, if it's not the parish priest, it's probably going to be your local TD in search of a divine or political intervention. But that's not to take away from the stress and the fact that that doesn't absolve our responsibility to constantly improve the customer-facing role of the passport service. It is exceptional, possibly the best service in the state. Certainly, post-COVID, we had a lot of debates about that, and we don't have those debates anymore. But I will repeat, we would absolutely welcome any opportunity for An Garda Síochána to digitise their records, but we do maintain a good relationship with An Garda Síochána, and where we can work more closely together and where you can feed in this level of constructive criticism, I see no reason not to take it on board, Deputy.